Shalom. Yahweh Shem Yahushai Barakathum to all my brothers. Yahweh Shema Alathah Ba'Shem Yahushai to all my sisters. We are the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We've been teaching so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Indians that they're the Lord's chosen people according to the Bible. We've been teaching this truth under Command of General Yohana since 1969. Today is an interesting history class with the chain of events that are happening before our eyes. And under the tutelage of Command of General Yohana, who serves Christ and who is the greatest man on the planet as we speak, what you'll need to understand is that all the prophetic words that the ISUPK has been spewing across the planet is coming to life. Now, we told y'all what was going to happen, right? Commander General Yohana told y'all what was going to happen. And because of Christianity, you still can't wake up out of that deep slumber because of your wicked leadership, because of your pastors, because of your blackity black leaders today. You are still in a slumber. And now you're starting to realize the true nature of this beast, the true nature of our oppressor. Now you're starting to realize that this whole political game is about your captivity. This whole political game is about the slaves of America. This is what it's all about, man. Them storming Capitol Hill is about who is going to take charge of the slaves of America, who are going to take charge of the children of Israel, so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Indians. But before we get started, are there any questions online? If there's any questions online, let's get those questions. Let's get that out the way. Any questions online? I'll give it a sec before we get started. Today, if we have any questions, ask your questions before I get started. Today, we're going to talk about how Christianity destroyed one of the most powerful nations on the planet. If we're going back to antiquity, and we're going back to all the empires that have existed on the planet, Rome was prophesied in the book of Daniel, was the most powerful nation in recorded history up until the daughter of Babylon came into the scene. Now, what is the daughter of Babylon? The daughter of Babylon is America. It's the divided America that we see today. That's the daughter of Babylon, and this is prophesied all throughout the Bible. The fall of Babylon. Well, we got to take something out of the playbook of Rome and how Rome fell, and the economic failure of Rome, the turning upside down of the political realm of Rome, the enemies that Rome encountered as their political system and their economic system started to fail. Here's what you don't understand, right? There's a saying where they say history always repeats itself. So there's two particular nations that we have to pay attention to as we see all this unfold before our eyes, as we see the fall of one of the greatest nations on the planet. We have to pay attention to Rome, and we have to pay attention to Egypt, right? The Lord destroyed Egypt with the plagues, and the Lord destroyed Rome with the economic fall, with the social system of Rome collapsing, the economic system of Rome collapsing, and the religious clerical domain of Rome under Christianity, which in the beginning was something that was under attack, but later on, during the divide of Rome between the Western and Eastern Roman Empire, Christianity was the go-to religion, right? And how did they do this? How were they able to accomplish this, to make Christianity, which is the mark of the beast in the Bible, how were they able to get Christianity to engulf all of Rome? Well, the one thing that the one system that Christianity has put into place through the different popes and through the different archdioceses and is that they were able to Christianize basically all the pagan traditions that were in place. So let me give you an example. Let's say you worship a Norse god, or let's say you worshiped Jupiter, or let's say you worship Zeus, or whatever gods that, and there was thousands of them that the Romans worshipped. Well, the Christian church would allow you to come in and bring your God, and they would Christianize your holiday. And then they would infuse the Father. They would infuse Mary into the worship of Mary. They would infuse the worship of white Jesus. They would infuse the Christian dogma with the pagan roots of Rome. And so that became attractive. Now, this is something that we have to really dive into. And I found something very interesting, right? I'm going to pull it up. Let me see if my restream skills, I don't even know why that's playing. Let me see if my restream skills, let's see if I stepped it up. So I went to history.com, right? And I was reading up on different, scholars and different researchers that looked into how Rome fell. And many have different speculations. Many have scoured through historical events. And I found something interesting that I'm going to bring out today. And let me see if I can pop this up real quick. Let me see if I can pop it up. Let me share the screen real quick, all right? We're going to go to one of the Chrome tabs. There's this thing on history.com, right? It's called The 8 Reasons Why Rome Fell. And I was reading up on this, and I thought it was very interesting, and I'm going to share it today. But before I do, I'm going to close the Q&A for now, since no one has any questions. So I assume everybody understands the Bible. But what we'll do is we'll dive into the 8 reasons why Rome fell. And then I want you to correlate it with what is going on in America and how America will have the same fate as Rome and as ancient Rome. And it will also have the same fate as ancient Egypt. Now, many have, because of the military might of America and because of the blessings that the Lord has poured out on this wicked place and the riches of the empire, America, out of all the problems that have come about, out of all the enemies that they fend off and the bullying that they've done all throughout the planet Earth, out of everything that has gone on since the inception of this country, there's one thing that has been benign onto the leadership of this place. There's one thing that has been a stumbling block onto the leadership of this place. And it's always been the Lord's plagues, what Donald Trump called the invisible enemy. Now, what do I want to reiterate about this particular plague that has consumed the planet is that not only did it shut down, is it currently shutting down the economic system and the economic flow of America. And guess who keeps this economy flowing? Can you guess who keeps this economy flowing? Can anyone guess? I shoot for the stars on this one. Guess who keeps the economy flowing in America? Right? And you'll come to find out it was the same mentality. It was the same structure. It was the same social structure that kept Rome afloat, that kept Rome economies going. And the thing that keeps the economy going for America, and we've been saying this on the corner week after week, weekend after weekend, disturbing your shopping, disturbing your day off with the Lord's word. I know the Lord's word is a burden onto you. Just to hear the Lord's word on a good Saturday evening or a good Saturday morning or afternoon is just a burden onto you, right? You know, good niggas, why don't y'all get a job? That's what y'all been saying, right? And we've been telling you that black people, when I say black people, I'm talking about so-called Negroes, right? So-called Hispanics and so-called Native Indians are the ones that fuel the economy of America. Now, if the slaves are not in their quarters working, this place is going to fall. We've been saying it forever. You know what I mean? We've been saying this since 1969, that America needs us. America needs the slaves in order to fuel this beast system. Right? Now, what part of America's economy, what part of America's workforce needs us? Right? And I see a comment in the room, especially entertainment and athletes. The only thing about the games, right? When you say entertainment and athletes, we're talking about the games, right? We're talking about what the Greeks instituted, which were the Olympics. We're talking about what the Romans instituted, which was the Colosseum. The only thing about that is that it is in place to keep the slaves distracted, to keep the slaves, to give them something to look for after picking cotton all day, right? It's the same mentality where your slave master gave you Sunday off so you can go to church, so you can sing and dance and just have that day off. Well, the entertainment in our athletes, they're there to keep us what? Entertained, distracted, to take our mind off of the real problem. And here's what we're going to do, right? We're going to go to Zephaniah 2:1. This is a go-to scripture. This is a quintessential scripture that the UPK brings out, right? Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1. Salakia. I'm going to use my digital sword today, my lightsaber. I'm going to have to use that today. Salakia. Hebrew a little tired today. Just got off my slave quarters, like every other brother and sister. But all right, let's go to Zephaniah 2:1, right? Bear with me. I should be able to pull this up pretty fast with my digital. But yeah, let's get it real quick, all right? Let me see if I can find it. Okay. Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1. Here's what it says. It says, gather yourselves together, right? Because of Christianity, because of the cruelty and the captivity that we've been under our oppressor, we have been divided as a people, right? And what divides people the most? It's usually their culture and their language. So the one reason why we're not able to come together is because our oppressor has used a system of conquering and a system which is called conquer and divide. When our oppressor conquered us, he was able to divide us by stripping our culture and implementing the different culture, the French culture with the Haitians, the British culture with the Jamaicans, the English culture with the so-called Negroes. And so now it's so hard for us to piece things together because our culture was taken away. Our essence was taken away. Our language was stripped from us. So now, if I want to go, me as a Levite brother, if I want to go and vibe with a Dominican brother, he's more likely to vibe with someone that speaks his language than he is to vibe with me, which is why you see the so-called Haitians and the so-called Dominicans have tension. And it was a system of conquer and divide that our oppressor put in place. Now, the second thing that distracts us and why we're not able to gather together is because we're not able to love one another. We're not able to understand who we are and our history, which is right in front of our eyes, which is in the Bible. Our history is right here, right? But this book sits in everyone's household, right? And the holidays that are worshipped is another reason why we cannot gather together. It's another reason why we fall under the Lord's curse. We've taken on the customs of the heathens, and we've taken on the religious denotation of our oppressor, right? And so there's so many angles and devices that are used against us, whether it's holidays, whether it's entertainment, whether it's the love of money. And the love of money is always rooted with what? Our athletes and our rappers and our entertainers who we idolize. And our oppressor knows that. And so there's a rule of thumb when it comes to advertisement. The more you see visually the thing that is being promoted to you, the more likely you're going to succumb to the influence, or the more likely it is to infiltrate your mind so you could be programmed to think a certain way. So the witchcraft that America pours out on us is the reason why we cannot gather together. And who do they use to spellbound us? You think the white man just comes up into our neighborhood and he's like, and everyone's just all ears and we're going to listen? No, he uses the same Sadducees and Pharisees of old to trick us, to bamboozle us, to deceive us, so that we could worship their holidays, so that we could follow their political structure, so that we could be a part of America, so that we could be patriots of America. And there's only one true patriot of America, and that's so-called Black people. That's so-called Hispanic people. We fight in your wars. We help you capitalize in your voting system, right? And we fuel your economy, right? Now, keep in mind, we fuel your economy, and you're right. We're living paycheck to paycheck. We're getting crumbs in this place. But let's read. Zephaniah 2:1 says, gather yourselves together. And this is what Commander General Yohana is telling all these unity camps and these fake Israelite groups and your imams and your Christian sects, right? Telling every Black and Hispanic leadership to come under the ISUPK, come under the umbrella of Christ, come into the body of Christ, right? Who worships him in truth and in spirit, right? Not by the letter of the law, right? So now, gather ourselves together. Let's keep reading. Yea, gather together, O nation not desired. Let me tell you something, man. You niggas is so simple to think that everything that's going on with the storming on Capitol Hill, with the propaganda and the agenda of these white supremacy groups, you think it has nothing to do with you, and it has everything to do with you, right? They are pissed off because the slaves are getting free money, free checks, and they're able to sit home and relax and not go to work. Your oppressor is angry at that. He don't want to see you getting checks that you deserve, the little pennies that you deserve. You waited 6 months for $600. You waited 6 months for $600. And oh boy, listen, you Negroes was calling the IRS every 5 minutes. Right? You had the IRS on speed dial. You were checking the status of that check. When our oppressor can give you $10,000 and he'll be all right. Right? So now understand the wealth in this place and why they continue to give you crumbs. Understand what's going on. Understand that the dichotomy of what happened in Rome is going to be the same dichotomy of what's going to happen in America. You have to put that in your mind. And it all evolves around the slaves that fuel this place. But I wanted to bring that up is because now is the time. Now is the time to gather together. Now is the time. Gather yourselves together. Yea, gather yourselves together. Here's the problem, and the reason why we can't gather together is because of wicked Black and Hispanic leaders. It's because of wicked Black and Hispanic politicians. That's the reason why we cannot gather together. All right? That's the reason. Our leadership has put us in a position where we have to beg our oppressor. And you know what's a form of begging? Voting. You should not be voting. You thought, listen, I got a relative of mine who told me The reason why she voted is because Biden said that he would clear the student debt. I mean, we've heard this song over and over, right? We've heard these promises, right? And here's the problem with with wordplay, is that nothing is on paper, right? It's just words. Politicians their cunningness comes from their wordplay and how they're able to use smooth words and fair speeches to acquire political gain. And they deceive the minds of the simple. And that's you, black man. That's you, Hispanic man. Right? And you notice how they gave you that $600 check around New Year's. Right? And y'all went crazy for them checks, man. $600? That's your value, black man, Hispanic man, $600, right? Which most of y'all spent on weed. And here's the other thing. Y'all need to get off y'all need to get this idea that you can continue to fulfill the desires of your lust in this place. Right? You can continue to inhibit drug usage, and you can continue to do evil in the sight of the Lord. And the repercussions that we've warned you about, you're going to find out soon, those repercussions. Right? And we got to stop playing games, man. We got to stop playing games. We got to start taking the Lord serious and understand that this is manufactured by the Most High. The COVID-19 was manufactured by the Most High. You can gather all your conspiracy and embellish it all over the internet all you want. But this plague was manufactured by the Lord. And the reason why the Lord has stretched out his arms because of the cries of the children of Israel. So I need you to understand one thing. I need you to understand one thing, and you'll understand it today. The paradox, right? Give me a sec. Give me 1 second. Okay, yeah. So the paradox of electing a new presidential official is going to change the future of Black America. Man, y'all have been bamboozled and tricked, and you guys, it's like we're like children in this place. We're so easily deceived. Anything that sounds good, when the lie sounds good, we are all for it, man. Right? We are all for it, and we got to understand. We gotta, and this is why history classes are very important. And I'm about to cut it off in a sec, but here's why history class is so important. Because as you observe these different ancient empires, and you do realize that we, the slaves, have been slaves in every empire, meaning we've served every nation under the sun, and we've made them rich. Everything we touch turns to gold, and they know that. They know that we are the children of Israel. They know that we are the Lord's chosen people. And they know that we'll be in power very soon. under Christ. You know what I mean? They know that we'll be in power very soon under our King, Yahweh Shai Mashiach, right? We'll be under our King, ruling the planet Earth. Now, why would you want to die when Christ come back, man? That's my thing. I don't want to be killed when Christ comes back. I have to understand that when Zephaniah 2:1 tells me to gather ourselves together, I have to say, okay, well, who do I gather with and under what leadership? You prove to me the faultiness leadership of Commander General Yohanan. I want you to look at his track record today and tell me the faultiness of his leadership. When through the Spirit of the Lord under Christ, he has raised the dead through the power of the Lord, because I myself was a dead man, right? How does my patois brother say? Dead man, right? I myself was a dead man, walking about like a zombie, like it was the Walking Dead, fulfilling every desire, every lust, simple-minded, harming others, right? That's why the Lord's Prayer, right? It says, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, right? I've harmed many people in the world, and I'm pretty sure many brothers have harmed me, including my parents, right? So here's what we got to understand. You got to wake up out of the slumber, man. You in a deep sleep. And it's so deep that I guarantee you, as we hit the block again, I like saying that, as the UPK hits the block, as we hit them corners, I guarantee you that all it takes is a gift to destroy your heart. That's all it takes. And that's $600. That's a gift that's going to destroy your heart, right? That stimulus money is a way to please the slaves so they can keep working. So they can keep saying, America is such a great nation. They gave us $600. You're telling me it took 7 months of them going back and forth, tug of war as to whether to give out $600? But now let's get to the history of it, all right? I'm gonna fall back. Y'all know how I get. Y'all got to start checking me on this. Y'all be like, yo, all right, get right to the point. Let's get to the history of it. But I kind of had to let loose. Listen, Black Watch tonight, man. If you're not watching, let me tell you something. If you're not watching Black Watch tonight, man, you got a problem, man. You got a problem. You better tune into Black Watch tonight, because the generals and the heavy hitters are going to blow your mind tonight. So you better tune in tonight, Black Watch, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Definitely tune in. Quick promo. You know I got to throw that in there. But yeah, let's get to the So I was reading up on, I kind of understand the history of Rome. I love reading up on Rome, and I love reading up on the political systems of Rome, the social systems of Rome, the economic system of Rome. I love reading all that stuff. I'm a history guy, so I love reading up on all that stuff. But I found on history.com, there was a thing that said 8 reasons why Rome fell. And so everyone has their views, their opinions. Some have gathered certain facts to say, okay, why did Rome fall? So now we're going to look at these 8 reasons why Rome fell. And then we're going to come back. We're going to fast forward to present day America and why it's in the why it's standing on its last leg. All right, can we do that? Can you follow along? All right, I'm gonna switch the screen over. I want you to see the 8 reasons why Rome fell. We're gonna read it all together. All right, if you're with me, you're with me. If not, you're probably in church somewhere, banging tambourines. But if you're with the UPK, tune in right now. All right, we're gonna go for the 8 reasons. Let's get it. I'm gonna click over right now. Okay, so here it is, right? I want to see how it looks on the screen. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Maybe I can get a little better. No? That's better? That view's better? Nah. Let me see if I can get a better view. Let's do this right here. All right. All right, so the first reason, and that's great. So the invasion of barbarian tribes. Let's read what this says. It says this. Let me put this. I'm gonna put this on the. I'm gonna put this on the chat. All right. If y'all can get that. Let's put this in the chat real quick. Bow bow bow. All right. So you should be able to see that. It pops up right here. 8 reasons why Rome fell. And there was a lot of sources, but I kind of like this one. How they broke it down. So it says this invasion of barbarian tribes. Right. As you know. When Rome split, right, into Eastern and Western, 2 empires, Eastern and Western, the Eastern Empire, the Byzantine Empire, mainly focused on Constantinople, right? And Constantine was the emperor at that time that focused on protecting Constantinople. And the Roman Empire was so vast from the Atlantic Ocean all the way up to the Middle East. And so we gotta look at the military absence in many areas of this vast empire to the point where they started to recruit what they would call barbarians, the Gauls. There's certain what they would call Germanic tribes, the Goths, that came in and that were trained under the Roman army, the Roman military. And so a lot of time, what happened is they ended up using that training to basically defeat Rome by knowing their military tactics, right? But let's get it. All right. So now let's start with the 8 reasons. So the invasions by the barbarian tribes. It says the most straightforward theory for Western Rome's collapse. Keep in mind, Western Rome collapsed probably around 400 AD. Eastern Rome strived all the way up into the 1400s under, I want to say, the Ottoman Empire, right? And this is when the Slavs and the Arabs came into the scene. Maybe they might have came a little earlier. Don't quote me on that, but let's read up. It says the most straightforward theory for Western Rome's collapse pins the fall on a string of military losses sustained against outside forces. Rome had entangled with Germanic tribes for centuries, but by the 300s, barbarian groups like the Goths had encroached beyond the empire's border. The Romans weathered a Germanic uprising in the late 4th century, but in 410, the Visigoth king Alaric successfully sacked the city of Rome. So this was around 400 AD, where the city of Rome, and this is talking about the Western Empire, got sacked by this Germanic tribe. Now let's keep reading. The empire spent the next several decades under constant threat before the Eternal City was raided again in 455, this time by the Vandals. Finally, in 476, the German leader Odoacer staged a revolt and deposed the emperor Romulus Augustulus. From then on, no Roman emperor would ever again rule from a post in Italy, leading many to cite 476 as the year the Western Empire suffered its death blow. Now, what's so important about this? What's important about this is that the other nations are monitoring America, and as they're seeing this uprising, this political turmoil going in America, the Lord is setting the stage for World War III. And so, because America has been a bully to all nations, these other nations are timing their and strategizing their moment to get military advantage over America. And everyone's watching this nation because this is the most powerful country in the world. So all your enemies and all those that you've had your foot under and your knee on their necks, all of them are waiting, and they're timing when to strike. And the first thing, and when you think about the prior to Donald Trump coming into office, there's speculations that the Russians entangled in our political system through our social media, social media platforms, to be able to entice the minds of Americans so that Donald Trump can come into office. Now, what is the perfect timing to attack a nation? Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to create a political turmoil in that nation. And you got to be able to seize the opportunity when a nation is divided. You got to try to seize that opportunity while it's divided. Right now, America is divided. And so other nations are privy to take a stab at the bully when the bully is unawares, or when the bully is at a weak advantage, right? And so when America is divided, then at that point you can find some sort of vulnerability to get up in there and cause a collapse, right? But let's go to number 2, right? That's the first reason. This is the one I want you guys to really tune into: economic troubles and over-reliance on slave labor. What you have to understand is that America relies on its slaves, which is what I was mentioning earlier. America relies on it. It's more like an over-reliance on its slaves. If we decided to gather ourselves together, and when I say gather ourselves together, the only way it can happen is if we get our identity back. And our oppressor will not give us our identity, right? Our entertainers, our athletes, they're required to keep their mouth shut and be a good slave, right? You know what a good slave is? Let me explain to you what a good slave is. A good slave is someone that celebrates New Year's. A good slave is someone that celebrates Christmas. A good slave is someone that votes for their oppressor. You know what a good slave is? A good slave is someone that is willing to kill his own through abortion. That's a good slave. A good slave is someone that's willing to come against the things that are truthful and right and sincere. And this is God's word. And to take on the religion and the culture and the precept of their oppressor. That's a good slave, man. A good slave agrees with with the slave master. A good slave is an American. A good slave is a patriot of America. So now, we know that Rome relied on not just relied, but over-reliance on slave labor. Slave labor is what built America. Slave labor is what built Rome. Slave labor is what built Egypt, the Medes in the empire, the Assyrian Empire. Slave labor is what built it. So when a nation grows strong from slave labor, they start to have an over-reliance on slave labor. So what was the storm on Capitol Hill about? Well, it was about the under-reliance of slave labor, right? I'm sorry. It was about the over-reliance on slave labor, right? That's what it was all about. It was the slaves are not working, right? So now it becomes excessive reliance, right? That's what it becomes. And so it becomes an under-reliance when they what? When they rely on something or someone too much. That's what an under-reliance is. So understand that we can tell if we had if we had righteous leadership in place, if we had that in place, we don't need to vote. We don't need to beg. What do we need? What's the foundation of a nation? The foundation of a nation is brotherhood, right? And this kingdom is divided right now. The white man does not understand the concept of brotherhood. He cannot fulfill the requirements of brotherhood. And he'll constantly be at war. They'll constantly be at war with each other because they're fighting the same way they fought in the Civil War. In the Civil War, what was the beef about? It was the slave labor. And that if you kill the slave labor, you kill the South. And it was a more of a political, you got to dive more into a political realm in the Civil War because the South was growing strong and mighty and powerful to the point where there would have been two countries, two United States. So it was a political beef that was going on, and the political beef has always been on the over-reliance of slave labor, the over-reliance of you, black man, Hispanic man, you need to get back to work. Yes, yeah, just like Pharaoh said in Egypt, you're idle. You might not have you don't have anything to do. You need to get you back to work. So because America has an over-reliance on slave labor, well, guess what? When the slaves are not working, guess what's going to crumble? The economy is going to crumble. The way of life is going to crumble. Here's how dumb white America is. You voted for Donald Trump. You wanted Donald Trump to build that wall, right? Y'all had rallies. And you said, build that wall. Build that wall. You had rallies about this. But the convenience of slave labor, you never thought to yourself, well, who gathers the fruits at the Whole Foods that I go to? Who am I to call to do my lawn and to do my landscaping? And to nurse my children while I go to work. You never really thought about that, huh? You never thought about the trickle effect of getting rid of the slaves, of blocking out the slaves from coming in this country. You never thought about the trickle effect of ICE agents chasing down our Mexican brothers and our Haitian brothers. You never thought about that, huh? And that's how stupid you are, right? The influx of slaves trying to come in to tender your gardens, to provide your food. And on the onset of it, you're talking about putting up a wall, putting our Mexican brothers in cages. That's how evil you are. That is how evil this beast is. Right? Well, you know what the Lord's response was to putting our Mexican brothers in cages, to shooting down our brothers and sisters in the streets through your white supremacist police force? COVID-19. Now, what's so special about COVID-19? I think, I quite frankly think COVID-19 is poetic. It is. It's like the most beautiful song I've ever heard, right? It's unfortunate that our people don't realize the magnitude of this plague and how it benefits us more than it hurts us. Right? Meaning, the Lord wants us to wake up. He wants us to wake up out of this slumber. He wants us to come to a realization that we are a special people, that we are a holy people. He wants to take us from the grips of this beast. But let's read this part real quick, all right? It says this: economic troubles and over-reliance on, let's read it. We're here, right? It says this: even as Rome was under attack from outside forces, it was so crumbling from within thanks to severe financial crisis. Rome fell from within because of a financial crisis that was going on. And that's how it started to crumble, right? Let's keep reading. Constant wars and overspending had significantly lightened imperial coffers, and oppressive taxation and inflation had widened the gap between the rich and the poor. Let me tell you something. We've had a serious inflation rate since the 70s, right? And the taxes keep going up, and which is why it says oppressive taxation. And these are some of the things that causes a financial crisis. Overspending on military weapons, right? All this military weapon that we have, all the billions and trillions of dollars that we spent to increase our military might. And now we have an invisible enemy where we can't even use those military weapons, right? Now it boils down, since you Negroes are scared of scientists and you're scared of doctors, you're scared of a goddamn vaccine shot. Well, that's your only reliance at this point, right? You're not fighting a foreign enemy right now. You're fighting an internal, invisible enemy, right? So let's keep reading. In the hope of avoiding the taxman, many members of the wealthy classes had even fled to the countryside and set up independent fiefdoms. Let me tell you something. The rich get the biggest tax breaks, and they damn near pay nearly no taxes. right? The rich have always, since Rome, found loopholes to avoid the taxman, to avoid the IRS, right? Where to the point where they paid little to no taxes, right? Now imagine if the rich paid taxes at an accelerated rate that the poor pay taxes. I mean, this place would be, I mean, the streets would be paved with gold. That's how wealthy. I mean, let alone America's already wealthy. But the rich are the ones that pay lobbyists. They're the ones that sway the political structure of America, right? Let's keep reading. At the same time, the emperor was rocked by a labor deficit. And this is what I wanted you guys to understand. The over-reliance on slave labor on blacks and Hispanics. What you have to understand is that black people not going to work, black people receiving unemployment and paychecks and being able to stay home, right, and stay in their slave quarters, what that is doing is it's causing a labor deficit, right? And I'm going to read. Let's keep reading. So it says here, at the same time, the emperor was rocked by a labor deficit. And this is one of the reasons why Rome fell. There was a deficiency in labor. Like I said, the slave markets were diminishing. There was a deficiency in slave labor, which is one of the reasons why Rome fell. And let's keep reading. Rome's economy depended on slaves to till its fields and work as craftsmen, and its military might had traditionally provided a fresh influx of conquered peoples to put to work. And so this is what our oppressor does. Our oppressor uses his military. So deep. It's because our commercial and agricultural production is faltering. It's in decline, right? Why is it in decline? Because the stores are closed, right? People are not, and it's the reason why Jeff Bezos and Amazon is so rich right now. People are home. I went to the mall the other day for the first time, I believe, in months. And when I went there, it was damn near empty. People are not buying. They're not going to stores. You know what I mean? So What has this pandemic, COVID-19, caused? COVID-19 caused a decline or the economy to falter in its commercial and agricultural production, right? And so now America will start to begin to lose grip on the nations that it's conquered. That's what's happening. Agriculture is everything. Farming, our factories closing down is everything. So now when you go to the supermarket, well, if the agriculture is in decline, well, the food is in decline as well, right? But let's keep reading. All right, so now, what's the third reason? All right, we're gonna run right through this. All right. Is the rise of the Eastern Empire. And this is when the divide happened, right? America is divided between two factions, right? The Republicans and the Democrats, right? Well, with Rome, there was a divide in Rome, and the Eastern Empire came into play, right? And it says the rise of the Eastern Empire. It says this: the fate of Western Rome was partially sealed in the late 3rd century when the emperor Diocletian divided the empire into two halves. So this emperor Diocletian, he's the one that divided the emperor because the emperor was so vast and so big. It's so hard to keep an eye on things and to keep control and to be able to put to congest a military forces here, and you got to figure out how to spread out the powership of Rome. Western Empire seated in the city of Milan. The Eastern Empire in Byzantium, later known as Constantinople. The division made the empire more easily governable in a short term, but over time, the two halves drifted apart. East and West failed to adequately work together to combat outside threats, and the two often squabbled over resources and military aid. As the Gulf widened, the largely Greek-speaking Eastern Empire grew in wealth, while the Latin-speaking descended into economic crisis. Most importantly, the strength of the Eastern Empire served to divert barbarian invasions to the West. So basically, as the Eastern Empire, the Byzantine Empire, began to grow in wealth, they really put emphasis on their military, using military protection to protect Constantinople and the surrounding areas. While the Western Empire was in an economic crisis and started to descend, most invasions to the West, emperors like Constantine ensured the city of Constantinople was fortified and well guarded. But Italy and the city of Rome, which had only symbolic values for many in the East, were left vulnerable. So in the beginning, when they felt like dividing the empire would make it more easily governable, but it was only in short terms. But then, as time goes on, there becomes disputes, just like the disputes we have between Democrats and Republicans. There's always going to be a dispute because because of the idea of a two-headed monster, right? But let's keep reading. Most importantly, the strength east and divert barbarian invasions to the West. The Western political structure would finally disintegrate in the 5th century. but the Eastern Empire endured in some form for another 1,000 years before being overwhelmed by the Ottoman Empire 1,400 years. So the Eastern Empire said, you know what? We're going to take care of our side. We're going to take care of our own. And we're going to divert the barbarians towards the West to cause the West to fall. Right? What's another reason? Overexpansion and military overspending. Let's read. At its height, the Roman Empire stretched from the Atlantic Ocean all the way to the Euphrates River in the Middle East. But its grandeur may have been also its downfall. With such a vast territory to govern, the empire faced an administrative and logistical nightmare. Even with their excellent road systems, the Romans were unable to communicate quickly or effectively enough to manage their holdings. So the nature of our oppressor is that he can never have enough, right? Rome has become a vast empire to the point where they're not able to, what's the best way to put it? They're not able to, communication wasn't by a cell phone or you do this, but you had to send a messenger. So they're not able to control completely this vast empire because there were people that were living there, right? Well, let's keep reading. Rome struggled to marshal enough troops and resources to defend its frontiers from local rebels and outside attacks. And by the 2nd century, the emperor Hadrian was forced to build his famous wall in Britain just to keep the enemy at bay, right? As more and more funds, and this is an emperor that decided to build a wall. Our oppressor looks at the so-called Mexicans as an enemy. That's the only reason you're putting up a wall. It's because you consider the people that are going to try to cross the wall as enemies. And they would never do that with any other nation that wasn't part of the children of Israel. That they wouldn't do. Well, let's keep reading. As more and more funds were funneled into the military upkeep of the empire, technological advancements slowed and Rome's civil infrastructure fell into disrepair. All right, let's see. How we doing over here? All right, number 5. It says here, government corruption and political instability. And this is one of the biggest things. Our government is corrupt, right? Our political system is unstable, right? There's a lot of instability, right? It says this: if Rome's sheer size made it difficult to govern, ineffective and inconsistent leadership only served to magnify the problem. And this is what it's all about. The reason why America is crumbling before your eyes is because of ineffective and inconsistent leadership. And that's what's magnifying the problem. You know what I mean? Our inconsistent leadership and our ineffective leadership. Let's keep reading. Being the Roman Empire had always been a particularly dangerous job. But during tumultuous 2nd and 3rd centuries, it nearly became a death sentence. Civil war thrust the empire into chaos, and more than 20 men took the throne in the span of only 75 years. And this is how it happens, man. There's a civil war going on in America right now. It's not as intense with when it comes to death, but there is a civil war going on in America right now, right? And there was a civil war because of government corruption and political instability, that it said this: 20 men took to the throne in the span of 75 years. So in 75 years, there's been 20 coups where 20 men have taken the throne, usually after the murder of their predecessor. The Praetorian Guard, the emperor's personal bodyguards, assassinated and installed new sovereigns at will. Pay attention to what it said. The Praetorian Guard, the emperor's personal bodyguards. Who is Capitol Hill's personal bodyguards? They have the Capitol Hill police, right? Who videos have surfaced that they're trying to install a new sovereign, right? At will. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to install not just a new sovereign, but an old sovereign. They're trying to allow the sovereign that is right now to stay, which is why they were opening the gates while they were storming in Capitol Hill, right? But let's go. Let's read. And once even auctioned the spot off to the highest bidder, right? The political rot also extended the Roman Senate, which failed to temper the excesses of emperors due to its own widespread corruption and incompetence. Our senators and our governors, our House of Representatives, is a rendition of the Roman Senate. Why? Because they failed to temper the excesses of emperors due, meaning because of their widespread corruption and incompetence is the reason why I call our political figures today just like the Roman Senate, right? As the situation worsened, civic pride waned, and many Roman citizens lost trust in their leadership. And this is kind of what happened with Donald Trump. This is what kind of happened with the overrunning of Capitol Hill, is that American citizens lost trust in their leadership. That's why, right? All right. Next, number 6. It says this: the arrival of Huns and the migration of the barbarian tribes, right? It says this: the barbarian attacks on Rome partially stemmed from a mass migration caused by the Huns' invasion of Europe in the late 14th century. When these Eurasian warriors rampaged through northern Europe, they drove many Germanic tribes to the borders of the Roman Empire. The Romans grudgingly allowed members of the Visigoth tribe to cross south of the Danube and into the safety of Roman territory, but they treated them with extreme cruelty. According to the historian Ammianus Marcellinus, Roman officials even forced the starving Goths to trade their children into slavery in exchange for dog meat. So now, understand what's going on. Anytime pride is a mofo, right? And anytime a nation has become so powerful and so mighty, there's an implementation of pride that causes them to be cruel to their subjects, to those that are under them. And because of their cruelty to the Goths, and keep in mind, they got a deficiency in labor, and so they need slaves. And so what these devils did is that they decided to give these Goths, as they were pushed towards their border, they decided to give them asylum, but at the same time, they would feed them dog meat in trade for their children in slavery. That's how much our oppressor tries to choke us out. to the point where we are so poor. What are we doing? Instead of trading our children to slavery, what are we doing? We are aborting our children. We are killing our children, right? When oppression became too much to bear, the Goths rose up in revolt and eventually routed a Roman army and killed the Eastern Emperor Valens during the Battle of Adrianople in AD 378. The shocked Romans negotiated a flimsy peace with the barbarians, but the truce unraveled in 1410 when the Goth king Alaric moved west and sacked Rome. When the Western Empire weakened, Germanic tribes like the Vandals and the Saxons were able to surge across its borders and occupy Britain, Spain, and North Africa. All right. So now, let's get to the number one why. Let's get to the number one reason why America is imploding in front of your eyes. Notice that there was headlines that said Christians take over Capitol Hill, right? Christians take over Capitol Hill. Notice that, right? And this is a Christian nation, right? And there's a lot that comes into play with the chain of events that occurred, right? There's a lot that comes into play. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Yeah, you're right. The first stimulus check went to child support. Yes, it did. All y'all that owe them, number one, if you owe child support, you didn't get a stimulus check. First and foremost, all right. That just goes to show the just more points of how oppressive this nation is towards Black and Hispanic people, man. All right. But let's get to the real reason why this place is crumbling. One of the main reasons why this place is crumbling, drum roll, everybody, Christianity. If Christianity was the inception of the implementation of Christianity is why Rome is one of the biggest reasons why Rome fell, right? And let's go to it. Here's the part I wanted to get to. Christianity and the loss of traditional values, right? Let me go back. Christianity is the mark of the beast, man. It really is. That is the mark of the beast. This is a Christian nation, right? This is a Christian nation. And the people that stormed Capitol Hill, they were Christians. Don't get it twisted. They were Christians. They all had crosses around their neck. Hallelujah. They all worship Jesus, right? But let's read what happened in Rome. Christianity and the loss of traditional values. The decline of Rome dovetailed with the spread of Christianity, and some have argued that the rise of a new faith helped contribute to the empire's fall. The Edict of Milan legalized Christianity in 313, and it later became the state religion in 380. These decrees ended centuries of persecution, but they may have also eroded the traditional Roman value system. Christianity displaced the polytheistic Roman religion, which viewed the emperor as having a divine status, and has also shifted focus away from the glory of the state and onto sole deity. Meanwhile, popes and other church leaders took an increased role in political affairs, right? And this is what our our preachers do today. They take an increased role in political affairs. The two go hand in hand. It goes from the political realm to the what's the proper word I want to use, to the let me see the proper word I want to use. There's a word I want to use. But it went from the political realm to the church. It's sort of like a church and state thing, right? So now our leaders have taken it, like I said, our leaders further complicate our situation because they have an increased role in political affairs. And your politicians know that your preacher is the main source to your destruction, right? Christianity is the main source to your destruction. Christianity is what's going to keep you as a good slave under the lies of your leadership. The 18th century historian Edward Gibbon was the most famous proponent of this theory, but his take has since been widely criticized. While the spread of Christianity may have helped you know what I mean? Hold on one second. Let's read the last one. We only have about 2 minutes. Since we only have about 2 minutes, let me pull up a particular scripture that I wanted to pull, a couple of scriptures I wanted to pull up. Let's go to Luke chapter 10, verse 18. All right. All right. Luke chapter 10, verse 18 says this right here. It says, and he said unto them, I beheld Satan as a lightning falling from heaven. Now, why is that important? It's because our oppressor is the embodiment of Satan. And he has been in a heaven-like state for so long. He has always been on top. He has always been the shining and bright star. He is always illuminated. And it says, and I beheld Satan, because our oppressor is the embodiment of Satan. This is talking about America's economy, America's military might, our oppressor's status, right? I beheld Satan as a lightning fallen from heaven. This is not talking about the angel Satan fallen from heaven, but it's talking about his children, our oppressors, the so-called white man. It's talking about him and his economic system and his American and this empire falling from heaven, meaning it's falling from a high estate and it's now at a low estate, right? It's going from the wealthiest empire known to man, and now it's declining to damn near it's going to be a third world country, right? Let's go to 2 Thessalonians. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 2. It says this. Now I beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. And this is how you know Christ is coming. By what you see going on right now, this is how you'll know Christ is coming soon. And by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that day of Christ is at hand. And what you saw happen in Capitol Hill is letting you know that the day of Christ is at hand. It's close. It is nigh. And you better stop playing games with the Lord. You better get right. You better get all the way right. You better not wait to come up into this up into this body, to come up into these ranks. You better get up in here and do what you got to do, what you're required to do. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come. And we know that the day is not going to come until what? Except for when? It says, except there coming a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Here's what's happening. The white man is hiding behind this glory and his might and his wealth. When this place starts to really crumble and things start to go haywire and fall apart, you are going to know who the man of sin is. You are going to know who the son of perdition is when the American economy collapses, when a financial crisis occurs that cannot be saved, that cannot be restituted, right? And so you have to understand that there must be a falling away first. And that's what you're seeing in front of your eyes. Is a falling away. His power is starting to diminish, right? Let's go. Last one. Psalms 137. Let's go to verse 8. All right. Psalms 137, verse 8. We'll do the last scripture. And I got to close out, y'all, man. I spent, it's only a 2-hour class. But Psalms 137, verse 8 says here, it says this, O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. This is talking about America. America is to be destroyed, right? Their time has come. The clock is ticking, and America will be destroyed, right? But let's keep reading. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. Meaning, the white man is, our oppressor is going to receive an evil recompense upon his head for all the crimes that he's committed towards our people. And guess what? We're going to be happy on that day when we see our enemies fall. And how is that scriptural? Well, how do we know we'll be happy when we see our enemies fall and when we see Babylon destroyed, right? Well, here's what Ecclesiastes 25:7 says. He that liveth to see the fall of his enemies. And that's what I want. I want to be able to, I don't want to die when Christ comes back. I don't want to be killed when Christ comes back. And so I'm going to examine myself to see if I'm in this faith. But at the same time, I'm going to be happy to see the fall of Babylon, as I'm happy right now to see Babylon falling in front of my eyes, right? And so I'm going to be happy to see the fall of my enemies. And I pray that one day that our people have joy of their children. And because of our oppressor, he has taken that joy away from our children. And with that, I'm going to end the class 10 minutes before. Black Watch coming up in 10 minutes. Black Watch under Commander General Yohana. Tune in tonight. All right. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune in tonight for Black Watch. And with that, we're going to class. I'm going to give a salute to my brothers. Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah Baraka Thumb to all my brothers. Yahweh Shema Allah Bashim Yahweh Shah to all my sisters. And with that, we're going to class. Shalom. Don't forget Passover info. Go to ISUPK.com for more information. Check our websites. Definitely come into the Passover come to the Passover and come break bread with your brothers. And with that, shalom.